KTN Weekend Prime.
Having had this kind of confrontation between one of the Judicial Service Commissioners and now the appointed chair, you don't expect justice.
Criticizing the president. Mixed reactions to the suspension of JSC members. End of an era. Veteran Congolese musician Tabule is dead. A city in the making. Proposed Isiolo city on slow pace to reality. And commemorating World AIDS Day tomorrow. Why HIV positive persons are still stigmatized.
KTN Weekend Prime with Yvonne Okwara.
Good evening and a warm welcome. We thank you so much for joining us on our bulletin tonight. It is the 30th day of November 2013. We've got just a month to the end of the year. And as you can see, I'm joined by my sign language interpreter. His name is William Silla, ensuring that the deaf too can hear our bulletin tonight. We have a lot in store for you today. KTN Job Center, as always, you can get in touch with us on Twitter. Our handle is at KTN Job Center. And today on My Big Break, we will be featuring controversial blogger Robert Alai and how he became so influential. You don't want to miss that. That's coming up a little later on in our bulletin. But first, let's get to the top stories tonight. And it's everything that's happening in the judiciary. And they are against the move by President Uhuru Kenyatta to suspend members, the 6 members that is, of the Judicial Service Commission, saying that this move will hinder reforms as well as interrupt the functions of the judiciary. However, a section of legal minds say that the president was well within law to suspend the 6 and appoint a tribunal, adding that the suspension of 6 members will have no effect on the judiciary's core functions. KTN's Catherine Omando has details on this looming battle between the judiciary and government.
We believe in the principles of natural justice, in which someone must be given a hearing before you are condemned.
When the Parliamentary Select Committee on Legal Affairs summoned members of the Judicial Service Commission, JSC, being an independent constitutional body, decided to snub the summonses not once but twice.
This is a commission spitting in the face of the representatives of the people.
Not willing to justify their actions before the PSC on why they felt it was best to sack the former Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Gladys Alai, the Parliamentary Committee recommended the suspension of 6 members of JSC, setting the stage for one of the biggest battles between government and the judiciary.
The action taken totally paralyzes the institution of the judiciary. And it is therefore inaccurate and elusive for anyone to think that the judiciary will continue to function normally.
Members of the judiciary paint a grim picture. However, Charles Kanjama of the Law Society of Kenya has a different view about the matter.
The president, who has exercised a constitutional mandate to have the tribunal formed, also had a constitutional discretion to decide whether to suspend the JSC members or not, pending the work of the tribunal. Since that is the exercise of presidential discretion, he cannot be faulted for having chosen to suspend them. Whether it was wise or not, that is a different issue.
By January, as the Chief Justice had mentioned some times back, that there's going to be an appointment of 40 judges. These 40 judges were going to be able to deal with the backlog in the judiciary in terms of hearing of cases. I don't think that come January, the Judicial Service Commission will be in a capacity to even meet.
The Judicial Service is left with 3 commissioners. This number does not meet the threshold to make any of JSC's decisions. However, to say that operations of the judiciary will grind to a halt could be an overstretch, given that JSC is the equivalent of a human resource department and the core functions of the judiciary will not be disrupted. President Uhuru Kenyatta was acting in accordance to Article 251 of the Constitution. Albeit JSC is an independent body, the president has the powers to suspend its members and form a tribunal to investigate their conduct. The Law Society of Kenya is also questioning the composition of the Judicial Service Commission Tribunal, saying that they may not give out an impartial outcome.
The chair of that tribunal at one point applied to be a judge of the Supreme Court, and he was not shortlisted. And he went out in public and said, no, that was unfair. This should not have been happened. I should have been shortlisted. Having had this kind of confrontation between one of the Judicial Service Commissioners and now the appointed chair, you don't expect justice from that tribunal.
What is also clear is that under Article 165, paragraph 6 of the Constitution, the High Court has power to supervise the tribunal that will be conducting the job.
The commissioners can challenge the decision of the president in court or decide to follow the path forced upon them. If the tribunal does indeed find them guilty of misconduct, they will have room to appeal, and if that fails, the process of vetting new commissioners begin afresh, and this could take months. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
All county assemblies across the country will resume full operations on December the 10th. The County Assembly's governing forum resolved today that they will return to full plenary sessions after the legal window allowing them to adjourn has been exhausted. The MCAs have been on strike since September, demanding salary increments from the Salary and Remunerations Commission. The members who rejected the latest pay offer released this week by the SRC, however, maintain that the fight for more pay is still on.
In even reviewing the salaries of the and remuneration of county assembly members that has purportedly been done by SRC has not been done in accordance with the law. Has not been done in accordance with Article 230 of the Constitution. Has not been done in accordance with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Act. And has not been done in accordance with the labor laws of this country. So members are dissatisfied with the current offer that has been given by SRC and would want again to would want again the commission to prove that they have any basis for the current review that they have done and whatever they have set as tax for members of county assembly.
To a story of transition and of passing now. Tabule Rochero, one of the musicians who pioneered the Suku style of music, died today. Tabule lost his life while receiving treatment at a hospital in Belgium. He will be remembered for his hit songs such as Sorozo, Maze, Sacramento and Muzina, some of which he composed with his band Orchestra Afrisa International. Sharma Manyi tells us more.
Suku's and Rumba legend Pascal Tabule Rochero passed on Saturday morning in Belgium while receiving treatment for complications following a stroke he suffered in 2008. Tabule will be remembered as one of Africa's most influential vocalists and prolific songwriters. He was born in Bandundu in the Democratic Republic of Congo on November 13, 1940. At the tender age of 14 years, he wrote his first song, which he recorded with Joseph Kabasele's band called African Jazz. He later joined the band as a full-time musician after completing his high school education. In 1970, Tabule formed his own band, Orchestra Afrisa International, after which he started gaining popularity and recognition across the continent. He collaborated with musicians such as Franco and Kabasele and led to the exposure of Papa Wemba and Sam Mangwana, who were members of his band. In 1985, he composed the song Twende Nairobi, which was sung by Mbilia Bell, who was also his wife. The song put Kenya on the radar and also saw a ban placed by the then government on all foreign music in the country lifted. In his later life, Tabule took into politics, serving as the governor of Kinshasa in Joseph Kabila's regime and later vying for a parliamentary seat for his constituency of birth, Bandundu. He, however, lost the seat. Tabule had a child with wife Mbilia Bell called Melody and is also father to French rapper Youssoufa Mabiki. Here in Kenya, Tabule's fans say his music will live on.
Mimi namtambua sana msanii anaitwa Tabule. Kabisa ni kwa inspiration yangu nikiwa mdogo, nikiwa mkubwa mpaka sasa hivi nacheza nyimbo zake kwa gitaa.
At the time of his death, Tabule composed around 2,000 songs and produced 250 albums. Sharon Momanyi, KTN.
A true African legend who will be missed. Let's move away from that and on to matters of industrialization. It is now 5 years and just over 5 months since former President Mwai Kibaki launched the Vision 2030 project. Under the flagship project, tourism is envisaged to be one of the key drivers of the economic pillar, with the country targeting to build 5 resort cities. While in Isiolo, the journey to a resort city has already begun, with mixed feelings among residents and high hopes for businessmen. And as Rita Tinina reports, the Isiolo County government says the Uhuru Kenyatta administration is not as passionate about the project as that of his predecessor, Mwai Kibaki.
On the outskirts of Isiolo town, Andrew Lopeyo harvests sand. He has been doing this for a living for the past decade and is hopeful that his fortunes will change one day.
Kasi atapatikana.
Lopeyo is pinning his hopes of a better life on the Isiolo Resort City, one of the government's Vision 2030 flagship projects that aims to build resort cities in Lamu, Diani, Kilifi, Turkana, and here in Isiolo.
Nimesikia tu anajenga mimi sijui maana gani.
Lopeyo may not know the when, how and why of the Isiolo Resort City, but he is looking forward to living near a city one day, if only to better his life. The Isiolo-Moyale Road, part of the Trans-Africa Highway Corridor, may have given Isiolo a head start, and the winds of change are already blowing here. At the Isiolo International Airport, a 2.5-kilometer runway is complete. The airport land has also been fenced.
There's a plan to extend that runway to around 4 kilometers to meet the international standards.
Construction of the airport's terminal building and warehouses is underway, but this is not the only step taken in the journey towards the resort city. Isiolo is expanding its sewerage system. Plans are also underway to increase the town's water supply from the current 2,000 cubic meters a day to 8,000 cubic meters. The electricity supply is set for an upgrade from 38 megawatts to 138 megawatts. Add that to the proposed construction of a mega dam.
That has also the capacity of holding around 250 gallons of water, 250 million gallons of water.
And just over 5 kilometers from Isiolo town, the town's newest building stands, an ultra-modern abattoir for the slaughter of goats, cows and camels. The abattoir is 80% complete, with a 50-acre holding ground already fenced.
We are still left with the construction of the road from the abattoir to join the main road, and also the cooling facilities.
With an international airport in close proximity, the abattoir it is envisaged will serve the international meat export market. And Nachokole Achukwa, a guard at the facility, will tell you its completion is eagerly awaited by traders in the northern frontier.
Iko na watu wanatokanga tu watajiri akitoka fande ya Mwele, Wajia, huko Mandera, anakuja kuangalia hapo kama uko tayari.
For decades, the Isiolo goat market has been the focal point for the sale of livestock here.
Mbuzi, hata ng'ombe tunanunua. Wacha ng'ombe hata bunda tukibata barabara tunanunua tunauza. Bora tunapata nini faida?
The prospects of the abattoir have elicited mixed feelings.
Tujui faida ya kichinjio hiyo. Tutaweza kujua vile wananunua. Sisi tumezoea kuuza mifugo yetu wakiwa wanasimama.
Tukimfungulia hii slaughterhouse tunapata faida. Tunaletewa customer kitoka nje.
The changing face of this dusty town is evident. New hotels have been built, but the hotel owners are not the only ones anticipating good business with the coming of the resort city. Land speculators have found a new address in Isiolo.
That has, in the first instance, increased their land prices. But it has also brought another phenomenon. That is one of double allocation of land. You will find that somebody owns a piece of land and then sells to somebody else and ends up selling to more other people.
If the city becomes a reality, it is estimated that Isiolo's current population of about 80,000 will increase sixfold, and the influx has already begun.
We have people coming from other parts of the country to register themselves here as being either born or having lived here as residents by getting their national ID cards in Isiolo.
Over 6,000 acres of land have been set aside for the construction of the city. Isiolo's location almost right at the center of Kenya, and the fact that it is near major tourist attraction sites such as Samburu National Park and the Shaba National Reserve may have informed the choice of Isiolo for a resort city.
The resort city has been the passion of President Kibaki. I think that is on record. Unfortunately, I lack the same passion from the current administration.
For now, the thousands of acres of land set aside for the Isiolo resort cities sit idle. But with Isiolo gearing up for city status, the next 17 years will be crucial and will make all the difference between having a resort city up and running here and a government blueprint project that will be good only on paper. Rita Tinina, KTN, Isiolo.
The decision by President Uhuru Kenyatta to set up a tribunal to investigate 6 members of the Judicial Service Commission has now sucked the executive into the turf wars between Parliament and Judiciary on the separation of powers between the 3 arms of government. Early this month, Parliament defied a High Court order stopping debate on the Judicial Service Commission and passed a motion asking President Uhuru Kenyatta to have the 6 JSC commissioners investigated for gross misconduct. Now, there now appears to be confusion as members of the Executive Council of the Kenya Magistrate and Judges Association expressed concern that the president's move, quote, totally paralyzes the institution of the judiciary. Patrick Amimo has more.
On 6th November this year, High Court Judge George Odunga issued orders stopping members of the National Assembly from discussing a report of the House Committee on Legal Affairs, which recommended suspension of 6 members of the Judicial Service Commission and the President appointed a tribunal to investigate them. Ruling on a petition presented before him by the JSC, Judge Odunga cited Article 165, Subsection 6 of the Constitution and said a departmental committee of the National Assembly, when exercising quasi-judicial powers as opposed to legislative powers, is subject to the supervisory jurisdiction of the High Court. But defying the High Court order, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, ruled that the fact that a House acted in violation of its own rules or violation of parliamentary law in a matter clearly within its power does not make its action subject to review by the courts. The Speaker added that should a court clothe itself the powers of the legislature and purport to make determination on matters relating to procedures of a House or the Houses of Parliament and therefore question the supremacy of Parliament, then such a determination will only be in vain.
But I think it's been subjugated by the JSC to the extent that he issues those orders that he has issued. And we can't obey those orders.
When the supremacy battle between Parliament and Judiciary reached boiling point and MPs passed the motion demanding the President appoints a tribunal to investigate gross misconduct of the 6 commissioners, the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution urged President Uhuru to convene a meeting to reconcile the 2 arms of government and find a workable solution. Indeed, the President mid this month met Chief Justice Dr. Willy Mutunga, who is JSC's chairperson, and National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi at State House Nairobi to find a workable solution. But Uhuru's move to appoint a tribunal to investigate the 6 JSC commissioners has thrown the 3 arms of government in confusion on separation of powers.
Our concern is the impact of this decision in the functioning of the judiciary.
The JSC might decide to prosecute the matter to the Supreme Court since it holds the opinion that Parliament's decision is null and void and disobeyed a court ruling. This could worsen tough wars.
There is a very intricate design, the constitutional architecture of the Kenyan Constitution that allows each arm of government to be checked by the other 2 arms of government in different ways. So the judiciary, for example, checks the executive by passing decisions against the executive by subjecting them to court process. And of course, the judiciary is checked by the executive because the president is involved in the process of appointment of judges.
There's going to be a prolonged stalemate. I can tell you, I can guarantee you that most likely than not, those 6 members of the Judicial Service Commission or the Judicial Service Commission itself is going to proceed and file a suit in court to challenge and stop that tribunal from proceeding with this work.
Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula and Siaya Senator James Orengo have also waded into the debate.
The provisions that he invoked to send the 6 commissioners home gave him a discretion not to suspend the 6 commissioners.
It is a matter that needs to be addressed urgently before it explodes into a full-blown constitutional crisis. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
Definitely a story we will keep on looking at for you and keep you updated as to how that unfolds. Deputy President William Ruto this evening touched down in Lodwar just a day after a bandit attack triggered yet more conflict between the neighboring communities. Ruto was there to attend the Kenya Pastoral Week that was meant for pastoral communities to showcase their ways of life. He has issued a warning to pastoral communities involved in cattle rustling, saying the government is ready to tackle the issue of insecurity among the warring communities. He was reacting over the recent attack between Pokot and Turkana communities that led to a hostage situation in Lorogon village in Turkana South. Now, as we do every single Saturday, we highlight job seekers, and today we're taking a look at one interesting case. Hundreds of Kenyans lost their only source of livelihood on September the 21st this year when armed gunmen attacked the Westgate Mall. 26-year-old James Kaguthai, a graduate from the University of Nairobi, is among many who lost their source of livelihood occasioned by the attack, and he now has no idea what his next move will be. On Job Center tonight, Najma Ismail brings you the story of this young man who is barely surviving. James Kaguthai became jobless after the Westgate Mall attack. The company he worked for decided to go on a break as they searched for another business premises. He was traumatized, but says he hasn't given up hope. 26-year-old James Kaguthai found himself back in his neighborhood in Kabete doing construction work 2 months after the tragic Westgate incident. This is not the only thing he has tried out after losing his job.
I would normally say in life you have to have a plan A, plan B, and a plan C. The little savings that I had made in my account, I decided to roll out a fruit parlor at my locality here. I purchased everything, including the containers, but I never got a space. I never got a house. The one that I had targeted, I was told that it could not be lent.
James says he tried several other odd jobs in order to put food on his table, but hasn't been successful. This Sukuma Wiki garden ensures that he doesn't sleep hungry. However, one evening after watching Job Center, he decided to write to us.
I went to a cyber cafe. At times I could not have some cash to load to my modem so that I can apply them here. So I went to a cyber cafe. I applied. I went to my email. I opened my email and sent my CV. And I wrote everything that I wanted. I described myself, whom I am. And that is when I sent it to KTN at standardmedia.co.ke. That is their email.
His neighbors give him errands to run. The good relationship he has maintained with them ensures he's able to pay for his wooden house. At the moment, he's working at this small construction site that belongs to one of his neighbors.
In a good day, you may find yourself having like 700 Kenyan shillings or even 1,000. And in a bad day, you can just have 100 Kenya shillings.
James graduated from the University of Nairobi in 2011 with a degree in procurement and supplies management. His last job was at the Millionaires Casino at the Westgate Mall, where he worked as a surveillance operator.
After Westgate attack, that is when our job had to be cut. So we didn't have I didn't have an alternative. Together with my other colleagues, we didn't have a choice because the company had suffered the loss of the equipment due to the mayhem that occurred at that place. There was a lot of damage in the premises, so we could not go back there. So that is when the company called us and told us that before they relocate, before they get somewhere else to do the job or to operate, we can as well be doing something else.
The attack that left at least 70 people dead and over 200 wounded is still fresh on James's mind.
During that night, I had left at around 7. When the Westgate attackers came in, I had left at 7. So a friend of mine called me. He works at Westlands. He called me and told me, I can hear some grenades around your place. So that was 11. It was around 11 a.m. I had not slept, so he woke me up and told me, I can hear some grenades at your place, at your premises. What is happening? So that is when I rolled out to the TV and started watching what is going on. I was totally traumatized for a whole night because after that I slept at around 3 in the following morning. Because I was just saying to my God, why can't these guys get these people out and we continue with our lives? Whomever the terrorist attackers who did that job, they have really done a mess into many lives, because Westgate was a reliant of, like, if I could say, 20,000 families.
Job Center decided not to take James to a career expert, but to a therapist to help him deal with the trauma. We did not film the counseling session since it is considered unethical and against the rules of counseling. Najma Ismail, KTN Job Center.
And please do stay with us on KTN Job Center. We will keep you updated on James's progress and whether he's able to get over what happened at the Westgate and indeed get himself back to earning a living. Now, on my big break this evening, he is a self-proclaimed social media guru. He says he believes in speaking his mind and telling the truth like it is. It is this that has made him cross paths with many, but that has not deterred him from doing what he does best. Now, he's not everyone's cup of tea, and many love to hate him. Controversial blogger Robert Alai tonight tells us about his big break.
I was born in Kisumu, grew up in the village, Ahero, Onjiko. I then came to college in Nairobi. On blogging, I think I started blogging around 2005, 2006, just speaking my mind from the internet, on the internet, through the internet, saying what I believe is right. Though sometimes people take it badly, but I believe that that's where it started, around 2005, 2006, while still working outside the country. Some of the issues we fought for, the Nancy Baraza issue, you know, the Kenyans for Kenya, very rarely we get the accolades, but our inputs, especially on complementing the efforts of the mainstream media, it has been a big journey for us. But I think also that with the penetration of now the internet and the mobile telephony, now people get to hear us more, and that's when people started hearing more of Robert Alai. But most of the people, the working class, knew me as far back as 2007. The funny thing is that even people who get to criticize me, mostly on social media, when they meet me, they have a very different perspective, because they meet a different person, which I'm not arrogant, I'm not controversial, I'm just a Kenyan, simple Kenyan, just interested in the truth, and that's what people get to understand. Most of the people who are my biggest critics, when they meet me and understand me, they get to like me more. My big break was when I was reporting about the Westgate incident in September this year, and various media outlets got to recognize me, the Sky News, the BBC, you know, the Epoch Times in America, the Israeli radio stations, the South African radio stations, the Canadians, the Australians. A lot of media houses got to recognize my effort, and also I got big accolades for that. I think it was that one was kind of reassuring, because before that I used to get a lot of negative press on maybe what people didn't understand or understood wrongly about me. So I think that was my big break.
Love him or hate him, Robert Alai tells it like it is. Now, he may not be controversial, but his tweets certainly are. But that is how he became one of the most influential bloggers we have in the country. Now, we want to celebrate our Employer of the Week, and this week it's someone who's new in town. Crescent Takaful Sacco, located on the first floor of Nginyo Towers in the CBD. Crescent Takaful is the first Sharia-compliant Sacco in East Africa. The CEO, Anton Wambura, says the Sacco will provide financial services to Kenyans with a focus on those without bank accounts and undeserved groups, including rural farmers, pastoralist and lower-income urban communities. They currently consist of a team of 4. And get this, if you are looking for work, they are looking to hire 50 more people in order to foresee their operations in the first year.
And for that, we are having vacancies in our business development division as well as in support functions. So for the business development divisions, we are having vacancies for a sector head in microfinance, a sector head in diaspora financial services, a sector head in agency banking services, a sector head in SMEs, and a head of business development. In total, we expect to have created about 50, to absorb 50 people within our first year of operations.
Welcome back. Now, the media fraternity is coming to oppose the move by the president to make amendments to the media bill. According to the Media Council, the president's proposed amendments further deprive the media its freedom and space. And just before we go on with that, we will be having the CEO of the Media Council of Kenya, Haron Mwangi, in just a moment from now to tell us more about these amendments that he feels will eventually lead to gagging the media. Also coming out in the defense of the media is a section of politicians led by the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Here is what they had to say.
Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta tulidhani atasaidia wa Kenya. Sasa yeye ameanza kufanya ile mchezo tu ilikuwa inafanywa zamani. Ile tunaita game of musical chairs. Unarudisha kiti pande hii. Wakenya wanasema rekebisha hapa, kwa sababu uhuru wa kusema ni uhuru ambao Wakenya wamejipa katika katiba ya Kenya. Kwa hivyo haiko jukumu ya bunge ama mheshimiwa rais kuchukua huo uhuru.
The National Assembly has already enacted the Kenya Information and Communication Bill, which contains severe limitations on the freedom of the media in Kenya.
And as promised, we have the CEO of the Media Council of Kenya to tell us more about this. Haron, thank you very much for your time this evening. Now, the president has returned the bill to Parliament, and we're still not happy. Why is that?
Thank you so much for having me in the studio tonight, and just to highlight on a few things that we still think are still, constraining media freedom. And first and foremost, we still feel that Article 34 has not been addressed adequately. And in our own view, we think that that Article 34 speaks about or implies that there are 3 distinct bodies. There is a body that is spoken about in Article 34.3, and this one is purely a body that is going to be established to license frequencies and to distribute frequencies to different media outlets. And that body, in our own view, cannot be an independent body, because that body is going to look at the issues of frequencies the frequencies of the security forces, telecommunication issues, what happened in Westgate issue the other day in terms of the SIM cards that were not registered, and security kind of frequencies, and therefore a body that is going to deal with very sensitive matter of the state, the security of the nation, in our own view, can never be an independent body. So it is even wrong to assume then that the body that is envisaged in Article 33, in Article 34.5 is really the former CCK. So in our own view, that body is not the body that is envisaged in that article. The body that is envisaged in that article is purely the Media Council. That is, has the role of setting standards and monitoring those standards and enforcing those standards.
You also have an issue with the fines. That is still an issue.
Of course, we still have a problem with the fines. And what the president has said that you cannot criminalize the issues of the behavior and conduct of journalists. The issues of the code of conduct cannot be criminalized, and therefore that has been left hanging. And we are therefore saying that if it cannot be criminalized then, and it is within the preserve of the Media Council, because the code of conduct is within the Media Act or the Media Bill, so to speak, then it means that we may need to have a complaints commission as it is now, as opposed to having the issues of the media, being dealt by the multimedia tribunal.
Very quickly, because we don't have time. I know there's also the issue of the tribunal and the body that takes a look at the ethics and conduct of journalists and other media practitioners. There's the recommendation that you have people from LSK, from the Consumers Federation, and a host of other groups, and you're uncomfortable with this because it should be a professional body, much like the LSK for the lawyers. The Kenya Veterinary Board, for example, for the veterinarians. Tell us quickly about that and why that's important.
The philosophy of media regulation is self-regulation or co-regulation, where we have professionals determining the conduct of their own, and therefore when you say that other people that are outside that area of specialization really are going to determine or to judge as to whether your behavior is within the profession expectation of the conduct, then that is already wrong. As much as this multimedia tribunal is going to deal with many issues, telecommunication, courier services, and so forth, we would want to have a clear separation so that those issues of communications and hardware are dealt with by the multimedia tribunal, where the actual issues of the behavior and conduct of journalists under the code of conduct are dealt with by professional people.
In about a minute, what next? Because this is now going to be discussed on the floor of the House in the coming week. What next for the media fraternity with these recommendations from the president?
I think we have Monday or maybe Monday and Tuesday to still engage the members of parliament, those people that still feel that and who are supporting us and feeling that this law is not good enough in terms of giving us space, and therefore those 2 days possibly are going to change the tide and maybe have many people that are going to understand the essence of the media freedom and why we want it.
Okay, thank you very much, Harun Mwangi, who's the CEO of the Media Council of Kenya, talking to us about the recommendations that were made by the president when he declined to sign that media bill. It's now going back to Parliament, and we will be keeping you updated on that debate that happens on Tuesday. Let's move on now to our Survivor series this week. Barbara Kemigisa is the true representation of living positive. Now, as a prelude to World AIDS Day tomorrow, the Survivor series crosses the border into Uganda, where Wilkista Nyabwa spent a day in the life of a person living with HIV.
This is yummy. Do you love this one?
For young Courtney Kemigisa and her 27-year-old mother Barbara, every day starts with a cocktail of pills. The drugs they take twice a day help to keep them alive. They are both living with HIV, meaning that they are infected with a human immunodeficiency virus, which can, without proper treatment, eventually lead to AIDS. Barbara had a troubled past and, like many young women in Uganda, lived a life which made her vulnerable to the virus.
Put on your shoes. I'm going to put in. Just when I was 6 years old, when I started having sexual abuses from my uncles, and this went on until I was 11. These were actually 2 uncles. I was primitive in the village, like so ignorant about everything. So I did not know I actually was having sex. When I got into high school, I joined this kind of group and peer pressure pushed in, and I had to start living this kind of reckless life. I learned how to drink alcohol. I smoked once. I had multiple partners. I would go clubbing. Basically, it was a life most young people live, and that's what I lived until the time came when I felt really used up and worthless and started condemning myself in each and every way.
Once a month, mother and daughter go to be medically monitored and to collect their drugs from government health facilities. In Uganda, it is estimated that just over half of those in need of antiretroviral drugs can access them. Barbara and Courtney live in the country's capital, Kampala, and for them, treatment and drugs are accessible and free of charge. It is recommended that all HIV-positive children under the age of 2 start receiving ARVs. Dr. Serubanja examines Courtney for any side effects. It is important to monitor the patient's health status regularly.
Other things that a child has to do with HIV, they have to be immunized like all normal children. They have to have good nutrition so that they can grow and have a healthy life.
Barbara attends a different clinic. She has recently missed several doses of her medication owing to her busy schedule. Her doctor is concerned that this could set her back.
If you don't take your medicine well, it will work for a very short time. But if you take it well, you can take it for a very long time. And so far, you've taken it for 4 years. And for the 4 years you've been taking it, your CD4s have been rising and you're healthier. And that should continue if you keep taking your medications well. And you can live a very long life even after this.
But I don't have AIDS, you know? I have HIV. Those two are different things. So it will take you to know all the information about HIV to be able to protect yourself against HIV. But it starts with you knowing your status.
Barbara is an activist for the prevention of AIDS, and she often speaks about getting tested and the treatment of the disease. Today, a business class at Makerere University is her audience.
We all have a role to play. Be a hero to yourself by knowing your HIV status.
Fortunately, life is not just HIV. It is sports day at Courtney's school, and mother and daughter are joyfully taking part in the activities. But life is expensive, and Barbara has to channel most of the funds she earns from speaking engagements to Courtney's education.
Actually, it's like I pay over 600 and above. When I look at her transportation, her school fees, and when you look at this place, it's quite, every facility is really like, it's an expensive school, but I get what like any parent would want for their kid. The fact that ARVs are free of charge, it is hope to people like me who cannot afford anything. Some people are trying to survive, and when you look at ARVs, it's the biggest part of us. I would say I need food, I need to go, everything. But without the ARVs, I can never live. I've done quite some good time of talking. If I'm to keep my fight bigger, I think I'm going to do beyond talking, and that's why I went into music, start singing. I'm going to sing about HIV because to me, I want to see stigma end. I want to see a change in HIV. I want us to get to an HIV-free generation. Hi!
Although the government in Uganda provides massive support for AIDS prevention campaigns, nevertheless, many are afraid of testing. Last year, Barbara organized a test drive at the music studio where she records her music.
I've never tested.
Anyway, I'm here to break you and tell the world that you are wrong.
Barbara is not just HIV positive. She is absolutely positive about all aspects of her life and believes her journey to the top has only just begun.
Step on, let's break the silence. Step on, I take that lead.
Top Friday. Alai Nakuru overturned the Kenya Cup tables by moving to the top of the table, albeit on a points difference after winning their match 54-5. Now, the Strathmore Leos too won their match to tie on points, but they later dropped to second place. Strathmore Leos rallied from a 12-14 halftime deficit to overcome stubborn Western Bulls 33-17. Lunch Bar Queens were too strong for Total Mondis, staying unbeaten with a 35-18 victory. KCB returned to their winning ways with a 2014 come from behind to win over Homeboys at the Lions Den in Ruaraka. They trailed 10-11 at the interval and 10-14 in the early second half. Now, over 500 swimmers took part in the Nairobi Swimming Gala competition at the Aquatic Stadium in Kasarani. Most of the swimmers invited to the two-day championships have attained African Swimming Championships entry standards, and the Nairobi Swimming Association is using the gala to improve on the swimmers' times as well as give others an opportunity to qualify for the Continental Swimming Showpiece set for next year in South Africa. There were no meet records broken on day one, but the Nairobi Swimming Association Chair Reginald Okumu says the Nairobi swimmers have been improving their times each and every day. Joshua Ashioya has won the 8th leg of the Standard Group County Golf Classic in Kisumu today. Ashioya carded 38 points to beat Jazz Soki, who finished with 37 Stableford points. Martha Okello was the best placed woman in the competition that attracted more than 90 golfers. Soki was the early leader at the par 70 Nyanza Golf Club after carding 22 Stableford points in the first 9. 21-year-old Beatrice Bisonga, who has been playing golf for the last 3 years, led the morning tee-off. Now, the Standard Group team was led by the commercial manager Salim Wika, who went on to win the staff prize.
KTN Sport.
Right, and we want to leave you with some good news tonight. Groove Awards Male Artist of the Year, Willie Paul, today launched his new album dubbed You Never Know at the KICC grounds. Willie Paul is a celebrated gospel artist in the region, having bagged many awards with his music being appreciated by both the young and the old. The musician, together with other Kenyan gospel artists Gloria Muliro, Ben Githai, Size 8, Jimmy Gate and Betty Bayo, acted as backup singers during the album launch. Here is how it all went down. The Standard Group is happy to have been associated with the launch of Willie Paul's debut album. And that's how it all happened. We wind up our bulletin now. Albert Juma on Twitter, you say, on Job Center, we also need to know about people who got jobs. And we do assure you that Job Center is changing people's lives. And Najma Ismail, I know, is working on putting that all together. Who's where now after being featured on KTN Job Center? And you will be surprised at how we have managed to help people. Do you want us to help you out as well? KTN Job Center at standardmedia.co.ke is where you can find us. On Twitter, simply send us a tweet at KTN Job Center. Najma Ismail will definitely get in touch. And that's where you can also send your CVs. Remember, Crescent Takafo is looking for 50 people to fill vacancies they've got. That's all we have for you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being part of our bulletin. On behalf of my sign language interpreter, making our bulletin all-inclusive, William Silla. Good night. We'll see you tomorrow.